Hi there, I'm Matthew from the Rhodes Business School. This is a lecture about inequality, transformation and governance in South Africa. These are all big words that have come into academia and everybody likes to use them, but does anybody really know what they're all about? So we've got to introduce this and say, what's the debate about? Then we can get involved in the debate. So please, these are my views. They're not necessarily the views of everybody, but see how we go. So we've been in South Africa for 27 years. And we have to start off by saying, what South Africa look like today? When we stood in the queues in the elections in 1994, there were 45 million South Africans perhaps. Today there are 56 million. We've grown the population by 25%. And we have to look at our family in the flag and we say, all of those people in the flag are dependent. And it's growing even faster. But what's not growing is the number of taxpayers that can support the population. And we've got students who are wanting to become high-end taxpayers, but there are not enough of them. Frightening is that the South African population was scheduled to level off in the National Development Plan. It didn't. It's growing faster than ever before. And what we get is that by 2030, when the National Development Plan matures, there will be 6 to 8 million more South Africans than we are even planning for. But the population is not growing. But the economy is not growing. We haven't recovered from 2009. We've been bumping along at 1 or 2%. We're currently in recession. So when you force these onto the same axis, Houston, we've got a problem. Before 2009, the economy was growing faster than the population. We had our chance, but that's long gone. And the trajectory that we are now on is that the population is growing so fast that we have to create another 9 million new jobs within the next 50 years, or there will be social chaos. How are we going to fix that? So this is where we move on from saying we have a massive inequality problem in South Africa. When you measure the Gini coefficients of South Africa, it's 0.6 if you take into account the grants. It's 0.7 if you leave the grants out. On a wealth measurement, it's 0.95, almost perfect inequality. We've got to sort that out. And really, the only way that we can do this is with a process called transformation. And transformation runs hand in hand with governance. Big words. What is transformation? People use this word glibly. Transformation is basically, hey, we want to change things. And hopefully we want to change things for the better. And people get confused with this. It's not to be confused with transition. So, we've had our miracle where Mandela brought us to the new South Africa. That was a miraculous transition. And then we stopped. If we were to take, we need to take this project so much further. And what we're saying is we want to go beyond transition. Now we've got to get to the new challenge, which is how to change South Africa for all South Africans. And the only weapon that we've got to do that with is good governance. So now we're using governance, this big new word, everybody bangs off about it, in all sorts of different areas. And yet there is no universal definition of what is good governance. Governance is just a process. It's a very flexible process. It's unlimited in its application. We need a guide in governance and transformation so that we can make equitable decisions for everybody, and with the least possible risk of doing something horribly wrong. So let's start demonstrating this. Why is good governance so important? Well, good governance gives you a good reputation. And a good reputation is about the only thing you can ever have, that nobody can take away and only you can lose. So we have to look and say, what does a good reputation bring you? Well, it brings you absolutely everything. Here's a guy with a good reputation. People would follow him forever. Here's a guy with a bad reputation. He's got lousy governance. And so people say, Hey, hang on, I'm not comfortable with this. They start questioning it. The leadership starts to get rocky, and we don't make any progress. Things have changed. Things have changed from an autocratic world where we had leaders who waved fingers. Today, those leaders are gone. We are looking for a new type of decision maker, new type of process. And not only in our leaders, we need it in everybody. Because with all decisions comes risk. What happens if you get it wrong? So let's demonstrate it like this. We say, right, put up a scale and we say, there are decisions which are based on efficiency. There are some of them that are totally inefficient, but what we're looking for is efficiency. That's the old finger-wagging way of doing it. I want more profit if you want. But coming into it now is the social spectrum, where we're saying, hang on, we mustn't leave anybody behind in our decisions. We must make decisions that are morally right and defensible. So we start measuring off our decisions, and if we're an MBA student, we invert it all and we make this beautiful matrix. And we say, now let's have a look at people. There are the finger waggers of the past. They base their decisions on efficiency alone. And that's moved on. We're now looking and saying, hey, what about the moral case? It's coming up in rockstar economist Thomas Piketty's book. We've seen it in the leadership trial of Bernie Sanders. Probably he would have made it to president had they not put Clinton there. New style of, hey, this is a kinder world, but how does that all work? So we're saying, worst practice today is a decision that is just a bad decision. It was inefficient and it was morally wrong. The benchmark of all decisions today is that they are legal. But we are wanting something more from our leadership. We are wanting decisions that are best practice. Not only are they efficient, but they are morally fair and defensible. So we put the matrix there again and we say, we cannot have decisions that are legally wrong. And we cannot have decisions that hemorrhage money. Our decisions must be in the top right-hand corner. But the way that we had it in the past was that the cutoff line was that it was legal. So in the context of fees must fall, if the university said there's a minimum initial payment policy, that's the law, everybody must pay it. That's a good decision, it's an efficient decision. But is it morally right? No, we say that left people behind. So now we have to move that paradigm across a little bit. And we say your break-even point has to come where things are morally right as well as being legal. That reduces the playing field, but it gets a more equitable result. Now, if you think that's complicated, now let's bring somebody else into the room, the stakeholder. Who is he? What does he do? Well, the stakeholder is like an elephant on a game farm. He's been there forever, it's just been ignored. So now we put up a game lodge and the elephant comes to drink out of the pool. He says, hey, what's wrong with that? I'm not doing much damage here. I want a drink. That's all I want from the party. I need something. I don't own your business. I expect to be considered. So if I want to have a drink out of your pool, don't shoot me. But there's something else that's got to come into this. Everybody's got to say now. There's stakeholders all over the place. But if we leave that and we leave that unmanaged, whoops, that can go wrong as well. Because we have to work together. Now here's a question. We take that skull out near Hartbeespoort Dam and we say, why do we go there on a Sunday afternoon? Is that just to have a drive, entertain grandma? No. There's a significance in that skull. It contains the very lead to what humanity is all about. We don't have big teeth. We smile and we work together. We don't kill each other. What has happened with the emergence of the stakeholder and new freedoms is everybody has got a view on life. And everybody is expressing that view. And they're getting angry because there's no structure in the way that we are operating. Everybody is trying to rule with a finger. But that doesn't work. We need a common way of having a look at this. And that's what we do with corporate governance. So, what we're saying is there are these big new reports out there, these big new words, corporate governance. Come on, let's simplify that. This is simply behavior. And the expert on the matter in South Africa is Mervyn King. Now people say, whoa, careful, now this is laying down the law. If you know Mervyn King, that's the furthest thing it isn't. It just isn't that. If you know Mervyn King, it's just not that. Mervyn King is the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He's saying, I'm looking for a common set of values, a common set of codes and principles that people can work together with. By working together as a team, we can solve any problem, even the problems of South Africa. So we have to get together and we have to say, right, take King's principles. And we say, it's a code. It's a code of ideas. You don't even have to follow them all. You just got to have a look at them and say, hang on, this is how we make best practice decisions. It's not the law. It's just a guideline to help you. So what we would do if we looked at King 4 is we would say, this has all sorts of ideas in different supplements regarding categories of entities such as companies, NGOs, universities, government even, pension funds and all the rest of it. It gives them some ideas. How do we work together? And what we do with this is we say, right, institutions are run by governing bodies. We'll use that as a term that encompasses all institutions. And we will say, in the new code, there are 17 principles in King 4 of corporate governance. What are they about? And how do we apply them? Not in a secretive manner, in an open manner. How do we go to the world and say, this is what I'm doing? How do we explain it and communicate so that everybody is involved in our decisions and can understand what we're doing? That's what King 4 is all about. Now, what I'm suggesting in this series is we need to look at this code. We don't have much else to work with. And we need to say, could we create a course, a life skill course for all South Africans, where we say, understand how governance works, understand how people work together. They don't bite each other. They work together as a team. And how can we use that to transform South Africa to address some of the terrible inequalities that still exist here? I'm Matthew Lester at the Rhodes Business School. Join me in this initiative.